Well, so I'm sure everybody's seen my little motorcycle accident now. The bike, we can talk about that in a minute, but for the most part, it's fine. Wanted to make a point and say that I had all of my gear on. I'm going to show you guys all the pieces of gear that I'm wearing, or was wearing at the time where I dumped the bike over. It's extremely important if you ride motorcycles to wear the proper gear, and this is the exact reason why. Because when we ride bikes, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to dump the bike over, get in an accident. In all honesty, my little episode was not all that bad, because it could have been a lot worse, and it surely would have been a lot worse had I not had the proper gear on. So we'll start with my boots. There's a lot of mixed opinions on whether you should wear steel-toed boots or not when you're riding a bike. I'm of the gumption that wearing steel-toed boots is perfectly fine. Some people don't really agree with that, but a lot of people do. The boots held up very well. I've actually had these things for more than a year now, and I don't know how many of these scuffs and scrapes were there before the accident, but I'm sure it added a few more at the very least. What's good about these boots, and what really saved my left leg, which I sprained, is the fact that they go all the way up to your calves. And if they were just normal tennis shoes, or even had I been wearing boots like these, this would have been better than a pair of tennis shoes, but it's still not as good as these because they restrict your movement left to right, and that's where a lot of my pain is on my foot here, is like right here where your foot can go, back and forth like that. So if I was wearing these tennis shoes when I was riding, I am sure that that foot injury would have been a lot worse. I really do believe that. So I am, in the end, very glad that I had chose to wear all my gear. And every time I get on this thing, whether I'm going to the grocery store or, going on a long trip like that through the mountains, I always wear gear. I don't care how short the trip is. It's extremely important. And as I saw with my own accident, and as you guys are going to see, this is everything that I wear. So here's my jacket. The jacket also saved me from a considerable amount of damage, mainly on my left shoulder. This jacket is an Alpenstars jacket, and it's got these foam pads in it that are on your shoulder, they're on your elbow, this one right here, and then it also has another one, a heavier duty one, because I upgraded this one in the back, and that protects your spinal column. So there's no damage to the jacket at all. I didn't skid, I just landed. As you can see here, there's a little bit of greenage here from some grass. And this definitely saved me from even possibly a dislocated shoulder. Because the way that I had landed on my left shoulder. As you'll see with my helmet here, I actually ended up striking it with my head, at least with the chin, because it took out a chunk of paint. And you guys probably can't make it out, but there is a slight dent right here along this contour. Yeah, in the end, there's a couple scratches and scuffs here, but in the end, I'm very glad that I had all my gear on. I can't find any other damage on the helmet anywhere. The visor's in good shape. That might be a scuff or some sort of scratch from the fall. I think it is actually. That little thing right there. It's not a crack. I don't know what the camera's picking up. My camera, which recorded everything, is a Drift HD Ghost, and as best I can tell, there's no damage to it. Maybe a little bit of scuffing, but other than that, it's fine. My Senna's fine. Both of them continue to work till, they're still working. And then the other part I wanted to make a point about, not the sticker, but we'll talk about that in a minute, are my gloves. These absorbed a fair amount of damage. Not a considerable amount of damage, but had I not been wearing them, I would have definitely screwed up both my palms and my knuckles, because there's strike marks here where my knuckles ended up hitting the ground or hitting something. I don't know if that's a tear right here. It looks like it. The seam's coming out. These are basically brand new. I've only had these a month and a half. Right here, there's a bunch of scuffs along the line, the outer line, underneath my pinky. And my pinky actually is sprained. The top joint is kind of finicky, but I didn't break it, thankfully. And then we have this one, which took a lot more of an impact on the knuckles than that one did. And as you guys can see, definitely saving the knuckles on my hand. And then this side also has some scuffs and scrapes and tears. I think on this one, it actually put a pretty nice rip right there. So there's a little bit of damage it did to the gloves. These gloves, I think, were like $120. Yeah, if you want good quality gloves, you're going to spend some coin on them. That's just the nature of the beast. And honestly, in total, including the boots, which I wear those for work, I probably have maybe, not including the camera and the Sena, the jacket was probably around $300 with that upgrade that I did. This is about, $120, we'll say that, just for the hell of it. So that's $420. The helmet was, I think, $200, so $620. So $600 worth of gear, if not just a little bit more. The boots themselves were like $80, so we could say $700 just for posterity. But as far as the bike goes, yeah, I have this YOLO shit on here to be funny, but it actually is, what it means. You only live once. And honestly, if I was to die on this bike, I'd much rather die on this thing compared to dying on the couch. I mean, in all honesty. So it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek, reference to the fact that, I'm riding a motorcycle. It's not because I'm a swag guy or any of that crap. It's actually, part of it's to be funny, and the other part of it's to, because it's true. But as far as the bike goes, I'm rambling too damn much lately. This side is fine. This bike had been down when I bought it, and I ended up replacing the fairings because of it. Thankfully, I did not put those two new fairings on yet, and because they would have been toast. But anyways, so the damage, I guess we can start from up here. This thing was already screwed up, but it's been made worse. This harness has been pulled out. I need to go ahead and stick that back in somehow. A little bit of dislodging with this whole fairing here for the nose. So what I'm going to have to do is take both of these covers off and assess the damage, but I don't think it's going to be all that much. That I just noticed is cracked and broke. Radiator and all the attaching hardware looks good. These frame sliders saved pretty much all of the bike. As far as the bike's concerned, it would have been a lot worse had I not installed these, because the radiator would have gotten crunched a little bit, and this would have been damaged some more. It probably would have suffered more damage to the handlebars and the forks, but the forks are fine. A little bit of scuffing on the clutch lever, and everything else on that part is fine. So those $14 frame sliders that I threw on were a damn good idea. Now we get back to the tail. The tail has been completely cracked. I'm going to just tape that up with some duct tape, because at this point I didn't really want to put more money into this bike anyways, but the tail has completely cracked right here. I've not seen any other damage to it other than some scuffage and scratches here. Everything else on it looks okay. And then we get to my van accessible license plate holder. My turn signal completely broke off, so I'm just going to get a small piece of scrap metal and make a frame or something, make an L bracket, and just kind of put it back on. But yeah, that's really the worst of it. The bike runs fine. It turned on, after the whole thing. Looks like we got some damage here to the mirrors, but these were, a $20 pair of mirrors. The bike ran fine. I got back on, rode it back here, and, before I got back on, I looked it over really well to make sure that, there was nothing wrong with it, major that would prevent me from riding it. My buddy who dumped his over, he actually pushed his brake lever into the side of his case. His is designed a little bit differently, and his has an O-ring kind of like this. There would be an O-ring here. I'm just using this for reference. This got pushed into it, started leaking. So as far as he knows, That's really the only damage that occurred with his bike. And he has the air deflectors that go over his handlebars. And one of those was broken clean off. It was still attached over here, but this part, it was just broken off. Just the plastic broke. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video, kind of show you guys the aftermath. I'm fine. I'm definitely going to be feeling something in the morning, and it's mainly going to be in my foot more than likely, but I have a little bit of pain in my arm. Not very much. It's just, you know, I could tell that I was in some sort of accident. And yeah, for the most part, everything's fine. I'm very thankful that it didn't go any worse than it did, because, you know, you guys saw the video. My leg could have easily been broken. Right after I went down and I was picking myself up and I saw that my leg was still under the bike, I was like, oh shit. That's all I thought in my head was, oh shit. And you know, they lifted the bike off of my leg, and I just immediately started feeling it, you know. Then I put some weight on it to see what was going on, and thankfully my leg is fine, other than a sprained ankle. Sprained foot, I don't know what you would call it, but yeah, like I said, I'm just very thankful that it didn't go any worse than it did. So I'm still going to ride. I'm not selling the bike. Don't get any ideas with that, guys. I know some of you are probably going to ask me that, but you know, it is what it is. Getting on these motorcycles, there comes a risk with it, you know, and you know, a lot of people are going to say, well, if you had done that in a car, you probably wouldn't have been hurt all that bad. Well, you're probably right, but like most things in life that are fun, there comes a significant risk to some degree. It's not going to stop me from riding. It's just a learning experience for me to hopefully grow from, and not let that happen again. So I hope you guys learned something from this video. I've never really done a gear video either. I've kind of been meaning to do that, and I guess this was a perfect, you know, way into that video. So anyways, if you guys got any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. But until next time, guys, you all stay classy.